Mickey's a mouse, Donald's a duck, Pluto's a dog. What's Goofy?
Goofy's a dog. He's definitely a dog.
He can't be a dog. He wears a hat and drives a car. God, that's weird. What the hell is Goofy?
See, my thing is this. If trans women are really women, what makes Dylan so special? Like, what did she do to get invited to the White House? Like, why does she need this big Hollywood production to reveal her, facial surgery results? Or why does she need this surgery at all? This isn't an anti-trans channel. I mean, it may sound like one to sociopaths out there who are insisting that trans women are women. But for me, and I keep saying this, my concern is that gender ideology is creating an environment where they're doing more harm than good, that they're actually hurting the causes that they supposedly are fighting for. Most people don't care about trans issues either way. I've said this already. I've said this a bunch of times. Gender ideology keeps forcing it on anyone. So you have a movie like Bros, where the guy who wrote it and acted in it, the star of it, is mad that nobody went to see it. Nobody went to see it because there's a very small audience for this. Despite the fact that gender ideology is all over the place, and we have Pride Month, but Pride Day and Pride Night every month. It's everywhere. Like, gay people, LGBTQ issues are overrepresented. And it's largely due to feminism, and a lot of it is social media. And so, people who are working all day in Hollywood or whatever, they see this stuff and they parrot it and they push it out there and they make memes. So everything is society is just this big gay meme, this big gender ideology meme, and it's being taken too seriously by people who are in powerful positions in art and entertainment and the media. So, the Bros movie, they spend $100 million, and it was $40-something million on the movie, and they're surprised that a few people went to see it. I was just watching Clownfish TV earlier, and we're talking about Wikipedia, that Star Wars fan site, now adding pronouns to the different characters' bio. And that's not an issue for the Star Wars characters. But, because of TikTok, young white feminists and middle-aged feminist women, now trans issues and gender non-binary issues and these pet projects from these trans activists are becoming a part of a mainstream fandom. One of the biggest fandoms of them all is being hijacked by the smallest interests in the world. And if anybody complains about it on this site, they get banned. And they act like they're the ones who are reasonable and sensible. So yeah, just as an aside, which had something interesting when I was talking about feminism or women. I like Clownfish TV, but something I've noticed that's kind of annoyed me is that Neon will go off or about to go off on something. He's about to have a really strong opinion, like with this particular Wikipedia thing. He's about to go off. And I noticed Geeky Sparkles will always interrupt him and then sort of undercut what he's about to say. And I don't mean that she's fighting against him. I mean she always sort of like if he was a pit bull about to attack, she always shh, and stops him before he does it. And it's really annoying, actually. I like them both, but I'd rather see Neon talk about some of these things on his own. I usually, when he says, hey, I'm here to talk about something that is just him, I'm like, okay, good. Because I'm going to get more of an unfiltered opinion from him. And I'm only really bringing it up, besides the fact that I like them, but I kind of get annoyed and stop watching certain videos when she starts doing that. It just was kind of funny. It reminds me, or makes me think of how I always say, women have diluted geek spaces. Now I know her name is Geeky Sparkles, and just listening to them talk in other videos, she's really into a lot of this stuff. So she's not even doing it on purpose, or I won't say doing it on purpose. She's not doing it vindictively. But take the average woman who gets involved in geek spaces, who are not really geeks, and you see how they are constantly undercutting, diluting, and filtering male-dominated interests. So that thing with Sarah Michelle Gellar, where she's complaining about female superhero-led projects are not as successful, nobody wants to watch them, and it's really backwards. And it's shut the fuck up. You're not who. She was Buffy, great. But it's women don't get to decide for men what they're supposed to like and find. It's not backwards thinking. This is a male-dominated interest. Superheroes are male-dominated to the point where you even have, who's those two guys? Cartoonist kayfabe. They'll talk about certain superhero comics and they'll denigrate them and they'll make fun of them because it's basically they're saying superheroes are not really interesting to women. You don't have to erase superhero comics, though, in order to make comic books that women can enjoy. And if a woman enjoys superhero comics, fine. But you don't have to dilute them and say, well, Power Girl and Supergirl's boobs have to be shrunk. The Power Girl's boob window has to be smaller or just erased completely because it's a hostile environment to women. If women find superheroes hostile, they don't need to read the superhero comics or watch the superhero films. It's not aimed at them anyway. But because it's not aimed at them, it's like, well, this isn't aimed at women, so it's hostile to women. Therefore, it shouldn't exist because women can't be a part of it. Doesn't make any sense. You don't say that when it comes to, say, like romance genre. Like men don't complain that romance films and romance books don't feature male leads. They all respect that it's aimed at women. But women, and I've said this before, I talked about this with the Charlie's Angels, with Elizabeth Banks complaining about how men don't go to see Charlie's Angels, but she goes to men's stuff. And I was talking about in that video, nobody's really asking women to get involved in these things. Women just invite themselves to it, then complain about how it's like, they just complain about the elements of it. It's like, if you don't like it, you don't need to be here. Nobody, like, we're not doing this for you. We're doing this for us. And this is why, and then they get mad when you talk about gatekeeping. You're gatekeeping the interest. But the reason why we're gatekeeping the interest is because this wasn't for you. Now you've come along, complained about it. Now we have all these changes. And it even happens, I'm bouncing around all over the place, I know, but it even happens between a man and a wife, or a husband and a wife, where the husband is about to go off and say, look, this is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But then the wife is like, no, it's a fan site. They have the right to do it. And Elizabeth's like, well, let him first make his point before you undercut it to be like, I don't know, neutral or something. That she was saying, I'm used to it. So, well, let Neon not be used to it. Let him complain about it. Like I said, I'm just really saying it because I just think it's interesting how when women get involved. And I'm talking about and again, Kiki Sparkles is a super geek when it comes to a lot of that stuff. So imagine what it's like for just these normal women who just get into these spaces and they get to decide, or influence what's being produced. So, yeah. But anyway, so I was just saying that to say that the gender ideology, the only reason why I brought up Dylan Mulvaney, all of this is basically just think it's funny that Dylan Mulvaney is such a successful influencer for being a guy who says he's a girl. But it's like, what is the success based on? What does it mean? He's not talented. He's extremely annoying and irksome. He doesn't seem like a bad person. He just seems like an annoying person. And I mean, if you want to call somebody who's clearly cynically grifting and riding this gender ideology wave and this trans people are the most amazing people in the world thing, like, that's the thing. Trans women, trans people have to be separate from normal people. If just being trans makes you amazing, special, and brave. We've gone from protect trans people from being hurt just for being trans to they're women or they're men if they identify as that. And if you don't accept and believe that, we will do everything we can to destroy you. And we expect government, large corporations, geek fandoms that are supposed to cater to just like straight white men or whatever. We're going to force all of them to comply and bow down to it. That's extremely insidious. And I don't know, it's interesting. So I'm bouncing around still. Sorry. Oh, look, they changed it. These assholes. Let me check something. I saw some, hold on, let me see. All right. Okay, so I had to look for it. It was, I guess Microsoft News was showing me some headlines. And one of them was funny. It said, being a trans woman at the gym and in the locker rooms can be terrifying. It's an, I don't know, insider, something insider. It was just the headline for me. And I'm looking at the likes versus the dislikes. The likes was 506. The dislikes were 4,671. And I'm laughing because I'm like, wait a minute. What the hell are they talking about? Being a trans woman at the gym and in the locker rooms can be terrifying. Like, what? Okay. So they have a lot of nerve, these trans women, to talk about how being in the locker room can be terrifying for them, but dismiss actual women not feeling comfortable with them going in locker rooms. Like, you have to be like, the audacity, the trans audacity, the traudacity to be like, I'm terrified to go in the gym in the locker room. You don't understand how men are. But then these assholes allow men who supposedly say they're trans, and it's literally just dudes. They just fat guys, weird looking guys, just allowed to go into women's spaces and even around girls, little kids, children. And as long as they say, no, actually I'm a woman, they just accept that. But then you have these like assholes who make fucking articles talking about how dangerous and unsafe it is to be a trans woman going into bathrooms. Get the fuck out of here. So that's why, and it's funny, again, they keep trying to push this on average, regular, everyday people. Media, social media is good at pretending that this is important for everybody. It's not. And again, it doesn't have to be. You can stop at, hey, don't hurt trans people. Don't hurt gay people. You can stop at that. But right now we're at a time where they're the most celebrated group in the world. You see them everywhere. They're constantly being put in comic books. Star Wars, a huge Star Wars fan site is now forcing pronouns on the fucking characters. I think they literally call Luke he, them, or he, they. They're just making up pronouns for these fucking characters. And they don't even own them. And like I said, we're at a point now where Disney will just go along with it. Everybody's just supposed to be expected to go along with it. But I was going, hold on, like Destiny says, hold on. Why would you add pronouns to this fictional Star Wars character where gender ideology is not a thing for them? Why would you do that? If you say that, you get blocked and banned. So that's the only reason why I am going off on these trans issues. Because to me, it stops at trans women are not women, but they're definitely trans. They're men who want to be women for one reason or another. And I can separate that from trans women or people who identify as women who want to go into women's spaces. They want to go to women's prisons after they've committed horrible crimes, and they go, oh no, actually I'm a woman, so that they don't have to go in prison with men. It's just because it's a complicated subject doesn't mean that people shouldn't question it and do their best to treat it seriously. You can't just dismiss people's concerns by going, oh, you're a bigot if you don't think that this person's truth doesn't have a right to exist. You're erasing trans people if you say that this guy who's committed all these crimes, who now identifies as a woman, isn't really a woman.